You want to mount something on the wall with drywall. Not with drywall, but you have drywall. That's what most people have. Unless you have a really old house with lath and plaster walls, you probably have drywall. And if you were to be able to like take a wall section out, it would look just like this. And you turn it around and you have some studs back there. They'd be 16 inches apart on center. And you'd probably have like vapor barrier and insulation, especially on exterior walls. But ultimately, that's what you're going to have, is you've got this kind of cavity in the center, and then you have studs every 16 inches. If you have the availability when you're hanging things on the wall, from anywhere from light to heavy, you really want to hang it where the studs are. If you have that availability, do that, because it's way stronger. You just get a wood screw. There we go, wood screw. Nice and strong, send it on in where the studs are, and it's going to be able to support like 100 pounds per screw for a number 8, 1 3/4 inch zinc plated galvanized screw. For most people, you're going to have trouble finding the studs. I mean, you can't turn your wall around like this. You can do the age-old trick, which is you tap along. The hollow spots in the center are, in between the studs. When it sounds really firm, solid, that is where the studs are here. Even here, I can give you the example. So you could use that. You could probably get pretty accurate. Get your pencil out, start marking along, and you'll notice the pattern, and it's probably 16 inches on center that you'll find that your studs are located. Use them if you can, but this video is about not using them. You're in the middle. You got to put one there. That's where it needs to be. So we have some options here. You go to the hardware store and you're like, I need to mount stuff, and you're going to get an assortment of options like this. All little plastic hardware, and most of these things are actually the wrong thing. This would be ideal for concrete as a substrate, not drywall as a substrate. It's a different product that we need. This product here, see those very coarse, aggressive threads? It's exactly what we need here. Because what if we were to just take a screw and we just put it through the drywall? Is that good enough? And it's not. A lot of people are going to know that, but some people might not. You can't just use the screw on its own through a piece of drywall unless there's a piece of wood like a stud behind it. It won't be strong enough. Even if you're delicate and you manage to get it to grab, it's not a reliable grab. It's literally holding by dust. These threads are not aggressive enough, whereas you use a drywall anchor like this guy here, much more aggressive threads, allows some measure of purchase, and about 25 pounds is what one of these would be rated for a pull rating, just to give you an idea. So let's talk about installing one of these things. So first of all, we've figured out where we're going, and we've realized, oh, we're not, going to be able to use the studs. We're going to have to put one right there. So we've got our bullseye on the wall. That's where we need to hang something. Let's just talk about this for one more second. So this drywall anchor and this screw, if I use them together, I think that this drywall anchor is just long enough to use that screw there. If it were any longer than this, it might work, but it might not. What happens is the screw sometimes will just punch right through and drill a hole out the backside of your anchor. But that doesn't always happen. More likely, if you have a screw that's too long, it's going to get most of the way, and then your screw is going to start, or the screw anchor is going to start spinning on you, and now you've got a hole in the wall. You're not going to be able to use this in that exact spot anymore, and that's inconvenient. This is kind of like one of those things. If we do it right on the first time here, we're going to save ourselves a bunch of heartache. So we want a screw that is shorter than the anchor that we're using. Oh, my fingers are right in the way. There we go. Can you see? Can you see the length? You can't even see it. Okay, there it is. So this is a number 1 Phillips. Phillips is the star shape or the cross, and number 1 is the size. It's a smaller one. So I find that, well, these are kind of designed to maybe be able to self-tap or self-drill. They're very sharp after all. I find that it's very frustrating and difficult with a high failure rate if you try to do that. You're much further ahead to get a pilot hole, and I find that a number 1 Phillips is the perfect driver to do so. So just center it on the crosshairs there. and we're just going to start drilling. And it's not taking much force here. I'm not jamming this through purposefully, because if you do, you're going to kind of like blow out the back side of the wall, and it's going to, you know, weaken the hold that we're going to get with that drywall anchor. Just want to be very gentle, just slow back and forth drilling, and it just pops through. Maybe just a slight wiggle there, and then take that number 1 Phillips, set that aside. With this anchor, you can see it's got a cross shape there. You can use a number 2 Phillips or number 3 Phillips. Both of these will give a good hold. The number 2 has a little bit of wiggle room. Number 3, maybe even a little more. You could probably get the job done with that. I prefer black Robertson. It's the one size larger than red Robertson, and you won't use this very often, that's for sure. So hey, exciting, you have this screwdriver, probably came in your kit. Now we have a time and reason to use it. So which hole? This hole here. So we set the anchor in first. As we drive this thing into the wall here, what we don't want to do is have too awkward of an angle. It never meets fully flush with the wall. Not perfectly flush. We're going for like 95% flush here. But if you start it on a funny angle, you're going to do yourself a disservice, and it's not going to be 95% flush, and it maybe isn't going to be good enough for you. So if we can, we want to try to be straight on here as opposed to a funny angle as we drive this hardware in. Further, as we drive the hardware in, we'll apply a little pressure as we're going. Nothing too firm, because this is just drywall and plastic. But as the hardware becomes flush with the wall, or almost flush with the wall, stop. Don't try to drive it in even further. The drywall is more likely to just let go, and then you're just left with the hole and you have to start over. So it's kind of more of a delicate touch here. As it becomes flush or almost flush, stop. So, black Robertson. Little bit of pressure as I'm threading. A little more pressure. Yeah, okay. So the black Robbie stripped out. It's hard because I'm trying to hold it up on the bench here. I'm gonna take that out. Actually, here, let's cover this. This is totally gonna happen to you. Couple of options. This one and this one. So the drywall anchor stripped before it sunk in all the way. If I had better technique, it probably wouldn't have done that, but I was kind of awkwardly holding and pushing. What I should have been doing is applying more steady and consistent pressure, but I wasn't. Maybe you weren't either. Oh no, like that's 1/8 inch or more proud of the surface, and I'm not satisfied with that. Like, you could use it, but I wouldn't. So pliers. These are linesman's pliers. They're just, or regular pliers. There's a couple of different options, but I think I'm just going to see if I can squish this and then reverse thread it. There we go. As with most things, if that didn't work and I broke the end off of it, now it's even harder, right? So I was more careful there. I didn't have it up on its side doing it this way because I didn't even think of it. I should have, so that you could see it better, but I put it here because I wanted to get a good angle on it and make sure I got it out of there. And you should as well. When you're doing stuff, try to, be as careful as you can, limit the amount of times that you have to redo this. So grab myself a new one here. Okay, new one. Yeah, I'm still going to use the black Robertson. It's still the one that grabs the best. And there we go. Stop there. So that's what I mean by 95% flush. It's not fully flush, but it's pretty darn close. If you kept going, you're going to strip the plastic like I did on the first one, or the drywall itself is going to actually like pucker or pull a little bit, and you'll have a little like hump in the drywall, and it's not ideal. But the way we've got that there looks pretty good. Let's talk about what we do from here. So I have a screw. This one is 1.5 inches long, which does work with the size of the hardware that we're using. If the screw is too long, it does work sometimes. I've done it lots of times, but ideally just have the screw that's shorter. Can you use a drill? Totally. Just send it through with a drill. A lot of people can and will do that, and they'll do it successfully. Probably it'll be safer for you to use a manual driver to put this in, because this style of drywall anchor is temperamental. And if we're not careful, it's not going to work. And so one of the things that can go wrong is you can be too aggressive with the driver, especially if you're like unskilled. You don't do 200 screws a day. When you put it in, you might drive it too far, and almost certainly you're just going to start to spin this entire assembly there, and then it's not going to work, and you're going to have to start over. So a skilled hand and a skilled trigger with a variable speed drill driver could totally get the job done. I'm going to recommend you just do it by hand. And there we go. Same thing. Once it snugs up, don't crank the crap out of it. Like, we're not working on an engine here. This is plastic components and drywall. So it snugs up, it grabs. That's what it looks like there. That's what it looks like on the back side. Now, if you did a bunch of those, like I just did, where you feel it grab, it doesn't feel loose. But you don't just stop while it's still loose. You feel it grab, and then you stop. That's perfect. If you get all of your screws installed through your drywall like that, bear in mind that like 25 pounds per absolute maximum would be the rating. I would opt for a number well under that. That's just a number that I found in reference to this hardware specifically, like what should you expect from it. Up to 25 pounds per one installed. I would, again, go with about half that number, because this is just drywall and plastic after all. If you can get it into a stud, all the better, do so, but it's not always an option. I hope you found this information helpful. If you did, please like this video, subscribe to this YouTube channel, and remember, I'm technically Steve, so it would actually technically help you to like this video and subscribe to this YouTube channel. So I'll see you again soon.